The day science begins to study non-physical phenomena, it will make more progress in 1 decade than in all the previous centuries of its existence. Nikola Tesla.
You have opened this documentary because you want to get to the truth and your soul needs the truth.
And because you know that the facts guide us to believe in and to live the truth, protect us, make us who we are, and lead us to our ultimate goal. That's why people have tried to believe in the truth as much as possible throughout history. And the more true their beliefs, the stronger they have been.
In today's world where lies proliferate, the truth of religions has become unknown to many people.
But in this documentary, you will see the reality of beliefs. Because, scientifically, a piece of knowledge is either true or false, there is no in-between. Then, how did beliefs and religions arise? Did someone come out and say, "Let's worship something"? And did other people like it and obey it? Did the whole world say, "Okay, let's worship these gods we invented"? Did people sacrifice so many people with stupid guesses to the gods they had invented in the past? Or did they make such magnificent pyramid temples for the gods that were not there? What was the power that made them believe this much? What was the reason for the formation of religions? For the gods who answer prayers, where are they? We will discuss in upcoming parts the reason why religions are so similar all over the world and people's entire social lives are. You have always watched documentaries about the origins of all these religions, prepared in very narrow and restricted field in a very short time. These documentaries, which describe the evolution of monotheistic religions from the polytheistic religions, are always look back to 3,000–5,000 years ago. For example, 10,000 years ago, the evidence before the flood, even the flood itself is ignored.
Referring to the similarity between ancient religions and today's Abrahamic religions, it is said that monotheistic religions were derived from polytheistic religions. However, the discourses of the Abrahamic religions, that is, the idea that the original monotheistic religion was sent again as previous religions were corrupted, are ignored. Again, the characteristics of the Creator God in monotheistic religions and the gods in polytheistic religions are not mentioned, nor who and what they are, where and how they came from. Mainstream science says that all gods come from human imagination.
In other words, factors that constitute religions are not clearly emphasized.
As we will mention and prove later in this series, the Syriacs are among the first Christians, and the Syriacs worship like the Muslims worship Salah. It was the same with the early Jews. The Karaite Jews, who were among the first Jews, worship like the Muslims worship Salah. I wonder if the religions sent by the Creator were resent after their originality was corrupted.
So, what caused this change to occur in real life? We will present the proofs in a moment. What made it polytheistic by breaking monotheistic religions? Why did so many communities of people believe in these religions and follow them and even sacrifice their lives? What did people who believed in these monotheistic religions in the past and today have seen and witnessed? What was the driving force that would make people believe in many or one God? What we will mention and discuss in this chapter are as following. The fact that the polytheistic religions are the same all over the world without having any knowledge about each other shows that these religions have a source and this source is the same.
Likewise, the fact that the Abrahamic religions, which you will see many examples of which you will see in this documentary series, are the same and the oldest monotheistic religions in the world are shown to be alike.
Now we will see the evidence and the sources of religions that will lead to the answers to all these questions gradually. And in this series of documentaries, you will begin to see and understand the big picture in the world as you see these evidences like a jigsaw puzzle with each other. If we focus primarily on the question of what was the first religion and how this religion was, according to the sources of the three major sacred religions, the first monotheistic religion to Adam was sent by Creator himself. So what does scientific research say about this subject? Evolutionist scientists are that monotheistic religions evolved from polytheistic religions are proposed as a theory that makes sense at first sight. At the first, they know that they had dealt a huge blow to religious beliefs thanks to this accepted theory. However, this excitement that developed in evolutionist scientists turned into disappointment over time, because the evolutionist theories about the origin of religion began to contradict with the actual data and was in a position to be criticized. In any case, none of the evolutionist theories went among the primitive tribes and made observations and studies personally. They based their theories on the memoirs of travelers and missionaries' reports. Later, research and general knowledge among the primitive societies revealed that these theories were not consistent and also that there were examples all over the world that were exactly the opposite of what evolutionists had said. The first serious objection to the evolutionist Taylor's theory of animism came from his student Andrew Lang. Lang, based on the latest information he had obtained about the primitive tribes of Africa, America, and Southeast Australia, revealed that there was no animism in primitive tribes, but also notion of a supreme creator deity believed to exist in the sky which was controlling people's moral manners. In addition to this supreme God, who ruled the universe from above, who is the absolute power, who is regarded as absolute good and worthy of respect, the existence of small deities and spirits that play a direct role in the life of tribe was believed in. Another similar thesis was defended by Wilhelm Schmidt. After his ethnological research among the primitive tribes, Schmidt stated that there was a single God understanding in the first form of religion. Schmidt put forward his views in his work, The Origin of Concept of God. The results of the study of religions around the world, led by anthropologists such as Andrew Lang and Wilhelm Schmidt, showed that religions did not evolve from polytheistic to less godly, but were occasionally distorted. This information was examined in great detail in the journal Anthropos, which was published under the leadership of Schmidt and deals with the issue of the origin of religions. The most noteworthy point was that there was a single creator God belief above all the superstitious deities that these tribes believed. That is, all pagan societies have two different God beliefs. One, the God who created everything. Two, the gods who govern people under him. Likewise, the pagan Arabs believed in God who created everything, but regarded the gods below as intercessors. Again, an ignorant Arabian says the following in his poem:
I swear to Lat, Uzay, and all those who worship them, also to Allah, for Allah is greater than them.
The Quran clearly denigrates their situation. When asked to whom the world and its rulership originally belonged to the polytheistics, they said, undoubtedly, it is Allah. When Stephen Langdon from Oxford University announced his findings to the world of science in 1931, he said that the information he obtained was very unexpected, because he was aware that these findings completely contradicted previous evolutionists' explanations. Langdon explained his findings.
Man's earliest history, in my view, shows a very rapid degradation from belief in one God to belief in the existence of many so-called gods and evil spirits.
Anthropologist Sir Flinders Petrie also says the polytheistic beliefs emerged from the distortion of monotheistic religions over time. Moreover, this deterioration progress is observed not only in communities that lived in the past, but also today. Petrie says,
in the ancient religions, gods are found in many classes. However, such an approach is also used in many cultures today. For example, a Hindu enjoys living among the growing numbers of gods and goddesses. Others do not even worship gods, but worshiping animistic spirits, demons. If worshiping spirits was the first step in an evolutionary process that led to worship of a single deity, we should have seen the evidence that polytheism gradually evolved into monotheism. On the contrary, all we can see is that the belief in one God is always the first step. Whenever we can trace the belief in polytheism to its first formation, we see that this is a variation of the belief in one God.
The anthropologist Lepage Renaud says the following about the same situation in the history of Egypt.
The formation of the Egyptian religion did not occur when many gods were eliminated and turned into one God. On the contrary, when the religion of Egypt was close to the belief in one God, it coincided with the earliest times of this civilization. The final stages of the Egyptian religion were the most corrupt of all Egyptian religions.
Edward McCready said the following about the same situation when mentioning Indian history.
In the Veda, we see that the belief of one God is before the belief of many gods. Even after a very long time, belief in a single eternal God among countless gods emerges, like the blue sky emerging from the pagan understanding that envelops the sky like a mist.
Again, Axel Persson says in his book Prehistoric Greek, which is about the same situation in Greek history.
The belief of the only God that existed from the beginning has turned into countless important, insignificant divine personalities that we see in Greek religious myths. In my view, the existence of these many deities is due to different interpretations over time of different names describing a one and only God.
In summary, the German philosopher Schelling, after studying the Indian biblical Vedas, says,
All mankind was once a single entity, and they believed in the only God, the oldest religion. Star, were dismembered. O believers, always turn to Him in repentance. Be mindful of Him and establish prayers, and do not be polytheists like those who have divided their faith and split into sects, each rejoicing in what they have. Quran Arum 31 and 32.
In other words, the monotheistic religion was corrupted and became a polytheistic religion. At first, people who worship God somehow started to worship evil spirits and demons.
That is why the unchanged parts of monotheistic religions during the process of degeneration are common features of monotheistic and polytheistic religions. For example, as you have just seen, even polytheistic religions almost all have a creator God. So the creator God is common to both monotheistic and polytheistic religions. Similarly, since history is common to everyone, some historical information is common to both polytheistic and monotheistic religions. For example, Noah's flood is common to both polytheistic and monotheistic religions. The only difference is that in Abrahamic religions, the flood is said to have been caused by the creator God, while in polytheistic religions, it is said to have been caused by alien gods. Similarly, Abrahamic religions tell us that Adam, the first human being, was created by the creator himself, while polytheistic religions tell us that Adam was created by alien gods. The belief in Adam and Eve, a historical fact, is common to all religions.
For example, even the most ancient and oldest traditions of the most primitive and the first tribes, Adam belief is mentioned. In the legends of the Hawaiian Island Indians, Adam and Eve are described as follows.
The creator Taroa created the first man from the red earth Aria and breathed into his nostrils. He created the woman from the bones of the man and named her Evie.
Again, in a Tonga tradition, it says that the first man killed his son's brother. Also, in the tradition of Maori in New Zealand, it says that the first man's son killed his brother. Even in the Gilgamesh epic of pagan Sumerians, it is mentioned implicitly in the form of Adam from Adapa, the first human. Also in the Quran, it is mentioned about Adam and his wife Hawa, and also his son Kabil killed the Habil.
In a similarity again, even in the most ancient religions that are known, there are beliefs of sin and heaven similar to the Abrahamic religions of today.
James Kirchward, who studied the tables dating back to tens of thousands of years about the Sanke and Mu continent tribe, which is one of the oldest known tribes before the flood, came across a text that says,
I believe there are 8 ways to reach heaven. Here I must prove I am free from 12 earthly sins.
Heaven and the belief in sin has been seen since the first man, and in the future, this belief in heaven in the people of Mu will be distorted and replaced by reincarnation.
The most important similarity in this regard is that the creative profile of today's Abrahamic religions is similar to the creative belief in antiquity.
The ancient period, the Naga says in the scriptures,
The Creator is incomprehensible to man, and therefore he is neither illustrated nor named. He is nameless.
This creative belief in ancient times fits us almost exactly to the creative belief described in the Quran today.
There is nothing like him. He is the all-hearing, the all-seeing. Quran Surah 11. No vision can grasp him, but his grasp is over all vision. He is the most subtle and courteous, well acquainted with all things. Quran Enam Surah 103. Similar verse in the Bible, John chapter 1 verse 18. Similar verse in the Torah, Exit 33:20.
When America was discovered, the surprising similarities between the ancient Inca religion and the Christian religion also surprised the European occupiers. Many things were similar between the ancient Inca religion, which had no contact with each other, and the Christian religion. but for a reason we will learn later, the idea of Satan was discarded in the pagan Inca religion. It is possible to increase this evidence. It was even told by Muslim explorers that the natives in forests where there was no hatchet performed prayer-like movements.
Someone has done a good job. You see, Noah's flood is present in all tribes of Africa. It also exists in the natives of South and North America, also in the northernmost Eskimos of Alaska. Such a flood is mentioned in all nations in Europe and Asia. Now they say this was transferred from one nation to another, However, there is such a fact that if a fact is mentioned in the books from the prophet Adam, or all over the world, or in all religions, it shows the unity of this source.
The information we have learned so far show us that all monotheistic religions came from the same source. Otherwise, such similarity in the world cannot be explained by the facts that people invented or came up with the idea of religions. As a matter of fact, when we look at the history, we see that these religions have not been formed by people, but that religions were actually degraded by people, and we will see in the more details in the future parts.
This case of coming from the same source proves why today's monotheistic or Abrahamic religions, which always talk about the same things and accept each other's prophets, are so similar to each other.
Indeed, in monotheistic religions, the first versions resemble each other as if they were duplicates. One invisible creator, the hereafter, angels, devils, fasting, aids, good deeds, sacrifice, worship, belief in holy places. Even holy places are almost same in the uncorrupted, unchanged monotheistic religions known today. Even the prophets that are believed are the same. The prophets of Judaism, Christianity, and Islam brought similar religions with the great miracles and revolutions. And today, the vast majority of humanity belongs to these religions. Again, although people know only these three religions as monotheistic religions, according to the source of these three religions, monotheistic religion existed since the first man and was constantly renewed as it deteriorated.
Yes, it is surprising that the Abrahamic religions are so similar. If you are making them up, it makes you say why you make up the same things with each other.
Create a different religion and don't let people say it was stolen from that religion. Why do you all have the same things? We have just shared with you what anthropologists think of how polytheistic religions were formed by the breakdown of monotheistic religions. And what was surprising was that the distorted monotheistic religions, that is, the polytheistic religions that were formed, were also identical. When we looked at Mesopotamian gods, ancient Greek gods, ancient Chinese gods, and ancient Egyptian gods and Hind gods. In short, ancient gods all over the world are very similar to each other in many aspects. All over the world, polytheistic religions are duplications. All of them have gods in the form of snakes, lions, oxen, eagles, giants, half-human, half-animal gods. The same symbols such as Hades, Venus, sun, moon, magician priests, pyramid temples, human sacrifice rituals, and the same worship methods and teachings. All of them always want the same things from the people. All of them are mentioned that these gods are demons, devils.
Although their names differ from culture to culture, what these gods ask of people, their methods of worship and their ideologies are the same even in different cultures.
On the subject, historians have proved us that there were the same gods in different societies, and that similar characteristics were exhibited in all descriptions of these gods. We wouldn't want to confuse you with naming each of them one by one. But if we need to give an important example on the subject ahead, Baal idol can be given as an example. According to modern studies, although the gods named Baal, Nimrod, Tammuz, Shamash, Amarutu, Marduk, Amon-Ra, Quetzalcoatl, Mitra, Molech, Jupiter, Zeus, Odin, Hubble, Shiva, seem like the gods of different cultures. They are essentially the same exact gods. They are all derivatives of the Baal god. They have passed the different cultures with the different names. In other words, the Babylonian god Baal is also Shamash in Akkadian and Amarutu in Sumerians, Marduk in Assyrians, and Ra in the Egypt, Quetzalcoatl in the Aztecs, Mitra, the god of light and wisdom among the Persians. In Indians, Shiva is the both molecule in the Carthaginians, Jupiter from Roman and Celtic gods, and Zeus from ancient Greek gods, Odin in the northern Europe, as well as the Hubble worshipped by Arabs before the Islam was preached. Baal is also worshipped by Masons today under the name of Baphomet.
In almost all cultures, this god named Baal, which has the same characteristics, but is called different names, is the sun god, the snake sacred animal.
Do you call upon Baal and leave the best of creators? Quran Safat 125. I have not made trouble for Israel, Elijah replied, but you and your father's family have. You have abandoned the Lord's commands and have followed the Baals. Bible, Kings, chapter 18, verse 18.
In other words, according to historical studies of religions, societies that belong to the polytheistic religion always worship the same gods, although they were given different names. Other gods have similar names in different cultures. There are so many similarities in the details of this subject. We will provide content with giving examples that are important when necessary. We understood that polytheistic religions were formed by the corruption of monotheistic religions.
So, how did the monotheistic religions in different regions became alike when they were corrupted?
Another very important point was that these pagan religions, into which idols entered, had the opposite methods of belief from the Abrahamic religion's methods. Whatever the Abrahamic religion said, the pagan religions said the opposite.
Monotheistic religions and the polytheistic religions, except for the slightest similarities, were diametrically opposite to each other. We all know more or less about monotheistic religions. With the exception of some sections and teaching of Islam, Christianity, and Judaism, most teachings are common in monotheistic religions.
The Creator, the beginning of all things, is the epitome of goodness and justice, omnipotent, infinitely powerful, and different from all created things. Everything is created except the Creator himself. The Creator asks man to do good for the sake of the Creator, that is, only for the source of all good qualities, without expecting any benefit from others. And in order to show that he is sincere in this, he asks man to worship. Although idols and images occupy most sects of Christianity, in fact, all Abrahamic religions are opposed to worshipping an idol and a depiction. The Creator cannot be seen and portrayed.
In polytheistic religions, the situation is very different from the monotheistic religions. First of all, in polytheistic religions, gods are not seen as creators. Religion history expert James Kirchward has said about this topic in his book.
Throughout this book, especially in translations, I have avoided using the word God in place of the Creator, because the word God did not mean the Creator for the ancients. Since our scholars could not understand the difference between the God of ancient times and the God of today, they imagined that the ancients regarded all their gods as creators and consequently produced and worshipped many gods. Thus, science has caused such a confusion that ordinary people can take the approach to this issue as limited and narrow-minded has become.
To continue with, gods in polytheistic religions, which are different from their creative profile in monotheistic religions, cannot be considered as symbols of godness and justice. They show human weaknesses. They act according to their interests and feelings. These gods in polytheistic religions are not infinitely powerful. They are portrayed as possessing human-like personal traits, in addition to having some individual, supernatural power, abilities, and knowledge. In polytheistic religions, gods can be related, rival, foe, or body to each other. There is a limit to what the gods can do because their power is not infinite, as we have mentioned before. They may need to strive, pursue other gods, to make their desires come true. Sometimes there may be rules above all gods.
Gods outlive humans, but they are not immortal as in Abrahamic religions. In most polytheistic religions, there is a head god figure, whereas in Abrahamic religions there is no intermediary creature or existence in between the Creator and man.
While monotheistic religions try to explain the formation of man in the world, polytheistic religions are often silent about how the world was created or about the creation of man. The deicist is the man and the universe somehow came into existence spontaneously. Again, polytheistic religions do not dictate that one should be disciplined, restrained, and well-behaved as monotheistic religions.
On the contrary, it emphasizes that a person should act as he intends.
Even in the advanced stages, the gods demand that evil be perpetrated for them. He sees bad deeds as worship. Gods want people to go into trance and worship with alcohol, drugs, and sexuality. They are into will to cause human, and even children to be sacrificed for them. It supports the crushing of the weak. According to the Greek philosopher Homer, the gods could have fallen into many of mistakes people fell into, including theft, murder, and lying. Although the devil has important place in monotheistic religions, There is no belief in the devil nor the hell in the ancient polytheistic religions. Again, in all polytheistic belief and religion, humankind is not an extraordinary creature. Us, as a human beings, are no different than any other creatures. Humankind has no particular fate. In fact, the gods do not care.
What is expected of ordinary people consists of obeying the traditions and obeying the social order.
There are necessarily the prayers to be performed, but a systematic ethic like in the Abrahamic religions cannot be seen from today.
In any case, there is no paradise to go after that in polytheistic religions. There is more of a reincarnation. Although magic is strongly opposite in monotheistic religions, and magic is accepted as a great sin, in polytheistic religions, things are usually done through magic, and sorcerers are clergymen.
There's someone I want saved.
From what?
Death. Didn't your father teach that death isn't the end?
It can't be done.
Well, figure it out. You're Horus, Lord of the Air. Or maybe I'll just toss what I have in the Nile.
Wait.
Stay with the living. Stay with the living. She's gone beyond where I can reach her.
But you're a god.
God's made of 1,000 of your years, but we cannot cure mortality. You denied me vengeance.
Zaya thought you were the greatest thing in all of creation. Every day she prayed for you to save Egypt, but you didn't come.
I was in a tomb I didn't hear.
No, you didn't listen. All you care about is your stupid vengeance. I started to think I was wrong about you, but I finally learned the lesson of the gods. We don't matter to you.
Well, now you know.
Well,
How were polytheistic religions were formed, or who formed the polytheistic religions? So what was the reason and power that broke monotheistic religions and turned them into polytheistic religions?
although we turned everything upside down while preparing this documentary series, we were able to get a single answer about who created polytheistic religions.
This reason is an abstract that may be surprising to many of you.
But when we investigate this abstract reason, we obtain evidence that it is not as abstract as it to be.
Thus, its effect is not as insignificant as it is though, and we have prepared it for you in the following chapters. Now, we will show this reason and its place in religious sources, and in the following sections, we will present you concrete evidence of this abstract reason.
Both in the three known monotheistic religions and in the sources of polytheistic religions themselves, it is mentioned that the founders of polytheistic religions were demons, that is, jinns.
In other words, in almost every source, polytheistic religions are said to be created by demons through magic.
By the way, according to Islamic belief, Satan is not a fallen angel or an angel at all. To Islam, Satan is a form of jinn or a fiend. In the later parts, we are going to see some evidence showing that Islamic jinns are actually known as aliens or a species of aliens called reptilians in our day.
Yet they ascribe as partners unto him the jinn, although he did create them, and impute falsely without knowledge sons and daughters unto him. Glorified be he, and high exalted above all that they ascribe unto him. Quran Anam 100. And consider the day, he will gather them all together, and then ask the angels, was it you that these polytheists used to worship? Exaltations to you, they will answer. You are our guardian other than them. No, rather they worship the jinn, and it was them which most believed. Quran Saba, Surah 40 and 41. O believers, intoxicants, gambling, idols, and drawing lots for decisions, all are evil of Satan's handiwork. So shun them, so you may be successful. Quran Ma'idah, Surah 90. The people did not repent. They did not cease to worship demons. The Bible, Revelation 9:20. But I say that the things which the Gentiles sacrifice, they sacrifice to devils, and not to God. And I would not that ye should have fellowship with devils. Bible, 1 Corinthians, verses 10 through 20. Yea, they sacrifice their sons and their daughters unto devils. Psalms 106, verse 37. They sacrifice the new deities that appeared lately, which your ancestors did not fear. Repetition of the Torah law, 32:17. Moreover, Josiah wiped out the Spiritists, family idols, other idols, as well as all the abominations seen in Judah and Jerusalem, in order to fulfill the principles of the law written in the book of that of the priest Hilkiah, found in the temple of the Lord. Torah, 2 Kings 23:24.
Well, how true is this thing called the devil? And does really exist? Magic, which is a method of communication with four-dimensional beings, can it be explained scientifically? Seriously, the reason polytheistic religions are so common and similar to each other around the world. This driving force, could these be invisible entities?
Follow us for all of that and more.